Okay, hello everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul. Welcome to our group tonight. Tonight we're going to continue our study on the Urantia of life. We're on section 2, paragraph 18, and that says 3 planetary custodians. And that's where we're at tonight. There's Millie. And let's say a little prayer and we'll get started. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight that we might study your wonderful revelation. We pray that you'll open our hearts and minds that we might remember some of this, that we might share it with others, and it might prepare us for our time when we get to the mansion worlds and we get Urantia companions ourselves. We thank you so much for this information. We thank you for your son, Michael, and pray that you'll watch over each and every one of us each and every day. We say this in the name of Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, let's see who's up at the top tonight. Rodney, you're up at the top tonight. So you want to start?
Yes, no problem. 3 planetary custodians. Each Urantia world, from the mansion spheres up to the universe headquarters, is in the custody, as regards Urantia affairs, of 70 guardians. They constitute the local planetary council of supreme Urantia authority. This council grants material for Urantia forms to all ascending creatures who land on the spheres and authorizes those changes in creature form which make
Rodney,
it
let me interrupt you because we're starting out at the wrong place. I had it in the right place, and apparently my cat decided we were going to read somewhere else. Here we go. We're on section 3, paragraph 10.
That did sound familiar.
Yes. As I listened to you read it, I thought, wait a minute, we've read this already. Hang on. All right, let's try it this way. All right, let's start from there. 3, hosts to celestial visitors. That's more like it.
All right, host to celestial visitors. These gracious creatures are dedicated to the entertainment of the superhuman groups of student visitors and other celestials who may chance to sojourn on the transition worlds. You will have ample opportunity to visit within any realm you have experientially attained. Student visitors are allowed on all inhabited planets, even those in isolation.
Okay, I'm going to confuse y'all right off the bat, right?
Yes.
First, student visitors are allowed on all inhabited planets, even those in isolation. You see that? So that means student visitors can come to our planet anytime. Okay.
How would they get here?
Well, that's a good question. All right. Very good question.
We'll ask Mike about that.
Ask Mike about that. Okay.
But Roger, we cannot. Even though we would be a student, we cannot come back.
We cannot come back for how long?
1,000 years.
1,000 years standard time. Standard time being Jerusalem time.
Which is more, yeah.
Which is 3 times that of Urantia time. So it's really about 3,000 years. Okay. Okay, now here's the confusing part. What we're talking about is Urantia companions, right? Isn't that what we've been discussing?
The host.
Okay. And they are the host to all celestial visitors. They're talking about the beginning of this paragraph, who may chance to sojourn on the transition worlds. Okay. We also know that there's other Urantia companions that set up trips and meetings and things like that, right? Right. So the Urantia companions are usually not on inhabited worlds, are they? Right? Okay, this is the confusing part. But they do become hosts to celestial visitors. So I have a question for you. Are these Morantia companions allowed to go with these student visitors to the isolated planets when they go down there? I don't know. It's a good question. Because they are the tour guides, really, for all the student visitors. Make sense?
Roger, I have a question.
Yeah.
It seems like if they did that, would they be safe? Because we have so many UFOs that are where they've crashed.
All right. I have an answer for that too. If they're in the Morantia form and they're in Morantia vehicles in a dimension that's outside the physical, right? They would be totally safe in this universe, in our planet, right? If they made themselves physically visible in the finite form, that would seem to me to become dangerous, right? Now, let me throw another monkey wrench into the mix. You remember when we were talking about how the UFOs communicated to Dr. Greer, right? That when we were setting off nuclear warheads, we were disturbing not only this dimension, but other dimensions also, right? Causing more damage in other dimensions. So it makes you wonder if by doing this, are we interrupting some of these celestial visitors? You know? And if we damage them, they would have to be fixed by whom? The Morantia beings, right? They'd have to be given new bodies and everything. I doubt that we could kill them, but we could cause some real havoc with them, right? So that's why I wanted to bring up in this paragraph. It's kind of, leaves it unclear as to whether these hosts to the celestial visitors actually go to the inhabited planets with them. And if they do, how do they get there? Do they go, they can't go by seraphic transport unless they're what?
Angels
Sleep.
or
Put to
spirit.
sleep.
Put to sleep. That's right. That's exactly right. So do they come in other types of Morantia ships to visit? It's a possibility. I don't know, you know, but it's something to think about. The other thing to think about is how everything on this world, even the finite world, affects everything else, right? So we have to be very careful in what we do. And we see how important it is that we stop warring with each other, right? It's very important that we get over that so that not only us as visitors to other countries, but these celestial visitors feel safe to come to this planet and study us, right? So being a good cosmic citizen, any way you look at it. All right.
You know, well, with all the evil what's going on in this world, and you know, I'm sort of wondering if they feel like, hey, I don't want to come here.
Well, that may be exactly why they want to come here, Bill, because to see how evil and rebellion has affected this planet, infected it too, but affected this planet is a lesson for them also, right? It's a lesson for them why we want to generate a perfect world eventually, because no one wants to live in a world like ours is right now, right? They really don't. Outside our world. We really don't want to live in a world that's
some of us don't want to live in this world either.
That's right. So that's a good reason to make changes, right? And change for the better, not for the worse. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Jane, would you take number 4?
Okay. 4, coordinators and liaison directors. These companions are dedicated to the facilitation of Morantia intercourse and to the prevention of confusion. They are the instructors of social conduct and Morantia progress, sponsoring classes and other group activities among the ascending mortals. They maintain extensive areas wherein they assemble their pupils and from time to time make requisition on the celestial artisans and the reversion directors for the embellishment of their programs. As you progress, you will come in intimate contact with those companions, and you will grow exceedingly fond of both groups. It is a matter of chance as to whether you will be associated with an aggressive or a retiring type of companion.
Okay, so they actually have classes for us for social contact. In other words, they have classes for us to teach the proper way to interact with one another, both the higher beings and the lower beings on the planet, right? And that's what these coordinators and liaison directors do. And they hold classes to do this. So that way we're not embarrassed by going in and saying or doing something that's inappropriate. All right. Okay, Bill, would you take the next one, please?
Sure. Interpreters and translators. During the early Mansonia career, you will have frequent recourse to the interpreters and the translators. They know and speak all the tongues of a local universe. They are the linguists of the realms.
Okay, that's the interpreters and translators, and we're going to learn how we learn languages next. Diane, would you take the next one, please?
You will not acquire new languages automatically. You will learn a language over there much as you do down here. And these brilliant beings will be your language teachers. The first study on the mansion worlds will be the tongue of Satania, and then the language of Nebadon. And while you are mastering these new tongues, the Morantia companions will be your efficient interpreters and patient translators. You will never encounter a visitor on any of these worlds, but that someone of the Morantia companions will be able to officiate as interpreter.
So as you progress and as you travel from your first mansion world, right? Mansion world number 1, you will have Morantia companions to go with you, for instance, to this finality world that's shown here. And they tell us that we learn languages just like we do here. All right. The difference is we got a little bit better brain, so where we can remember what we learned instead of learning it over and over and over again. Right. So the first language we'll learn is Satania, the language of Satania, and then of Nebadon. And then later on, we'll start to learn the language of Uversa, or the super universe. And after we go on to the billion worlds of Havona, we'll start to learn the language of paradise, which is just an expansion of the language of the universe. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does that mean that, you know, back in school, I used to have to take Spanish classes and stuff like that. And I took a lot of Spanish classes throughout most of my elementary, junior high, and senior high years.
Right.
And so does that mean my English is going to be like my Spanish, largely forgotten?
No, I wouldn't think so. I really wouldn't think so. I think you would, because of your new brain, you're going to remember everything quite well. You know. All right. Millie.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a question. I have a question.
Yes.
If we hadn't had the Lucifer rebellion and Adam and Eve's default,
Right.
we'd all be. It says that we'd all be the same color and speaking the same language.
That's right. That's right.
Why can't we speak? Why doesn't the universe speak the same language? If you want, but just
well,
one,
they do when you get
one,
to when they get you to the super universe level, they do. Millie.
Everybody speaks the same language.
Yes, in the super universe level, the language of Uversa will be the language of all 7 super universes. Yes.
Okay.
So you will speak the same language. It's
Yeah, but here-
only the local systems or the local universes that have the right to choose to have their own language, right?
Mhm.
course, there's 100,000 local universes in just our seventh super universe, right? So there's probably how many languages?
Hundreds of
100,000.
thousands.
Yeah, probably so.
Sort of like China with their dialects.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, number 6, excursion and reversion supervisors. These companions will accompany you on the longer trips to the headquarters sphere and to the surrounding worlds of transition culture. Transition culture. They plan, conduct, and supervise all such individual and group tours about the system, worlds, and of training and culture. Tours
Okay.
tours around the system, worlds of training. You take tours.
Yes,
Yeah.
you do. Now, think about this too. When you move from one mansion world to another, you have to be what? Put to sleep and wait 7 days, and you wake up and you got a kind of a new body, right? Now, that's not the case on these excursions, okay? Because they have to upgrade you from mansion world to mansion world, but they don't have to upgrade you for you to go visit, right? So when you get to the point where you can visit Jerusalem, you will be able to see and hear most everything that you need to see and hear, because you will be in one of these excursions, okay? So there will be no need to upgrade you to the new body yet, right? But when you move there permanently, that's when they would upgrade you, because you would need a new food, a new water, the whole gamut of living that you do. You would need the upgraded body to stay there permanently. Make sense? So I have another question. These excursion and reversion supervisors, when they take you on a trip, you think you hop on the back of an angel every time?
They must have an Airbus.
They must have some sort of transportation to get you there, right?
The yellow school bus.
Well, the yellow
Yeah.
school bus that flies through the planets, I don't know, but it is a good question. It's a valid question. All right. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Rodney?
Roger,
Yeah,
whatever vehicle they would use, it would have to be pressurized per se,
yes.
because we still
Yeah.
breathe.
We still breathe. We still
different
have a
mixture,
Urantia
but-
body. That's right. So you would need some kind of pressurized vehicle to transport you so that you could breathe comfortably and live comfortably while you're going, right?
Sounds to me. I mean,
Yeah, sounds like to me too. I mean, it makes perfect sense, right?
Oh,
can almost-
just like the magic bus.
Just like,
Remember the
or it could
series
be
on the-
just like, it might be just like the Starship Enterprise, where you got
There you
all
go.
your needs taken care of while you're on this ship that travels and takes you to the new world, right? And then brings you back again. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? All right. The difference is there's no warring going on in heaven when this is going on. So you don't have any Klingons to shoot at you, right? All right. Rodney, would you take the next one?
at least they don't mention that.
At least they don't mention that.
7, area and building custodians. Even the material and Urantia structures increase in perfection and grandeur as you advance in the Mansonia career. As individuals and as groups, you are permitted to make certain changes in the abodes assigned as headquarters for your sojourn on the different mansion worlds. Many of the activities of these spheres take place in the open enclosures of the variously designated circles, squares, and triangles. The majority of the mansion world structures are roofless, being enclosures of magnificent construction and exquisite embellishment. The climatic and other physical conditions prevailing on the architectural worlds make roofs wholly unnecessary.
There you go.
All
So,
right, Roger, I have a question about that.
yeah,
I can understand it doesn't rain and you don't get sunburnt there. Obviously, they must not have insects or birds that could poop on you, or,
apparently not. Yeah,
I mean,
Apparently also, everything has to be one level because you'd have to have a structure over you if it was more than one floor.
right. That's
well,
true.
that's true too.
Well, but let's see, which paper is it? I can't think off the top of my head. I have illustrations of some of these circuits, circles, squares, and triangles. And the circles are elevated by the lowest, the one in most center would be the lowest. And then the next level up would be around that. Okay, so it would be concentric circles that go higher and higher. So if you're on the 7th concentric circle, you can see down all 6 other concentric circles below you, but there wouldn't be a roof on any of them. Makes sense? So they would be concentric circles, but they would be elevated as you go up in the same way with all the others.
Well, I think it's saying that you don't need a roof to keep out elements. However,
No,
for multi-story buildings, you would have a roof or a floor.
you'd have to have a roof
I
or
mean,
floor
you'd
of
have
some kind.
to.
Or they would all have to be constructed, just like I said, where the lowest one would be on the inside and
Mhm.
everything else would be on the outside. Makes sense?
Right.
So they would be elevated over a period of space. All right. And apparently space is no object to these beings, right? They got lots of space for everybody. All right. So they have built, this is interesting that they have area and building, what they call custodians though, right? And these Urantia building custodians will allow you to make changes to your living abode to make it more comfortable for you, right? So if you want to paint yours purple, you can paint it purple, right? Right? Put any kind of picture on the wall you want, whatever, you decorate it just like you do here.
Being
Hey,
I'm a builder, I may have that trait there, and maybe there you would need to hire someone like me to help make these changes.
You might.
don't know.
We don't know.
But Roger, I do
Yes.
have a question with the sentence and the that phrase where it says that the structures increase in perfection and grandeur as you advance in the Monsonia career.
Right.
It almost to relate it to our everyday life, really, it sounds like this is moving it towards a spiritual
Abode.
perfection and
Yes.
grandeur, of course, not
Right.
material.
Yeah.
However, there is a correlation to our material world where those who advance materially,
Mhm.
successfully,
Yeah.
they are going to have an increase in the grandeur of their
Abodes.
headquarters, living
Yeah.
expenses, whatever.
That's
So,
right.
isn't it? I'm thinking here, everything is judged by the material accumulation and your affordability.
Right.
Over there, it is still going to be, I won't use the word judged because I realize it's the wrong word,
Yeah.
but we are, it sounds like, are going to get greater and perfect and grandeur things as our spirituality is moving upward.
That's exactly right, Jane. That's why Jesus kept saying many times you want to store your treasures in heaven, right? That's what this is about. The more you develop your spiritual cognizance of life, the better your mansion world is going to be. Okay. So if you're spiritually akin to all the other beings in the universe, and you're spiritually akin to your brothers and sisters and want to do the will of God in your life, then your abode when you get to the mansion worlds is going to be much more majestic than someone that don't care about anybody. You follow me?
I
So you
follow
may
you.
go from an apartment, if you barely get there, to a real mansion if you really serve your fellow man, right?
And then, Roger, I have to add another point that comes to me there. Even if we are in the most humble area,
Mhm.
in one of the mentioned worlds, because we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
We're mostly only working part-time or whatever
Yeah.
our ability is. But yet all the people there are going to be more or less in the same boat.
Same boat, so they'll have the same sort of abode.
So we're
won't they?
comfortable with each other.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. At
Yeah.
whatever level they are, everybody is good where they are.
That's what. Plus, you look at it this way: probably the worst abode you could get on the mansion world is 100 times more better than this world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be improvement any way you look at it, right?
Because it's not stagnant.
That's right. It's not stagnant and it's not permanent, right?
Yeah.
None of it's permanent ever. Okay. And you notice here it talks about changing your abode from each mansion, from world to world. It says, as you're assigned headquarters for your sojourn on the different mansion worlds. So these abodes are going to change every time you move to a new mansion world too, right? You won't stick with the same one permanently.
Look how many times we move in just in this short life.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There is a relativity there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Mhm.
And even though I cleaned up the backyard, dear, I'm not moving into the backyard. Just to let you know.
That looks great.
Okay.
You got to put a roof on it.
Got to put. Okay, let's go on. Let's see here. Did you just read Jane, or did you not?
No, I did not.
Okay. You want to take the next one here? I think I just messed up my screen.
Okay.
Okay.
I read that
Yeah,
last
there-
one.
Okay. Jane, would you take the next one?
Certainly. These custodians of the transition phases of ascendant life are supreme in the management of Morontia affairs. They were created for this work, and pending the factualization of the Supreme Being, always will they remain Morontia companions. Never do they perform other duties.
Do you notice how so many times in this book it always refers back to pending the factualization of the Supreme Being? So when the Supreme Being comes into existence, all bets are off, right? Everything will change. So that's the way it is right now. So don't get too comfortable with everything being the way it is.
And wouldn't all of the universes of the 7 super universes need to be settled in light and life before the factualization of the Supreme Being?
All of them have to be, Bill, all the way down to the very last planet that's been created in the 7 super universes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so it's a
It'll be a long
long
time.
time off. That's right. Bill, would you take the next one?
Sure. As systems and universes are settled in light and life, the mansion worlds increasingly cease to function as transition spheres of Morontia training. More and more, the finalities institute their new training regime, which appears to be designed to translate the cosmic consciousness from the present level of the grand universe to that of the future outer universes. The Urantia companions are destined to function increasingly in association with the finalities and in numerous other realms not at present revealed on Urantia. And that goes along with what I was thinking.
Yeah.
We're being prepared for service in the outer universe.
Okay, now I have something to add to this, though. The finaliters are interested in translating the cosmic consciousness of the present level of the grand universe. You see that? The problem with this is this: we don't have a cosmic consciousness of the grand universe on this planet at all, right? None, zip, not any whatsoever. So first we have to learn the cosmic consciousness of the present level of the grand universe before we could be translated into that future outer universe's consciousness. You follow me? So we're going to be in this cosmic consciousness of the present grand universe for millenniums and millenniums, for millions and millions of years yet. Okay, so don't get too much of a hurry to want to jump off into the outer space levels, because we're talking about millions of years away, right? As Millie says, it's way out there, you know, and it is. It's out there. It's not something that's going to pop into the near future really quickly. It's just not going to happen. So
that's why it bugs me when you start talking about what we're going to do when we get out there. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
that's so far ahead. Just give me the next million years. Don't give me,
All right.
I'm
You're
not
right
ready
about,
for the rest.
right. You're right about that. So anyway, so these beings that we're talking about, all right, these custodians help us get in the right attitude for the cosmic consciousness of now, right?
Roger.
Yeah.
Along those lines, I just had a thought.
Only one, right?
Well, no, many, but
Yeah.
one that I'm very curious about. I don't know if the book explains it. Once the 7 super universes down to the very last planet has settled in light and life, and the supreme being comes into full fruition,
right?
Will there be any more mortals born?
Yes.
In the universes?
Oh yeah, there'll continue to be beings born and these universes all the way up to the moment of all 7 super universes reaching light and light, and even after that, right?
Because I was under the impression that once all the 7 super universes are settled in light and life, by then the outer space belts will be coming in
to exist.
There'll be new creatures,
right,
who will leave there and transverse through our
that's correct
section.
That's correct.
And so perhaps there would be no more mortals born into the 7 super universes.
I don't believe that's going to be the case, Rodney,
I don't know.
Because when we reach light and life, we will reach a life of perfection. Okay. All the planets will be closer to perfection. So there'll still be babies born, but they will be raised in a period of time where everything is perfect. So when they get to the point of death, they will translate from these planets directly into the system capitals, which would be Jerusalem. The mansion worlds won't be necessary any longer, because if they're being raised in light and life, they'll be growing up in a perfect society, being taught perfect things all the time. So they will grow into perfection even on this planet. And as they get to a certain point of perfection, they'll fuse with their adjusters, and death will be almost non-existent eventually. Okay, but there'll still be birth. as
Yes,
long as they're humans, right?
yeah, because we are unique in creation,
Yes.
and that uniqueness is God's gift to us,
Hmm.
right? As being
Right.
created as we are created.
And
And
that's not
when
going to
we,
stop.
yes, because
Yeah.
he wouldn't end something
No.
that he created for, he created.
Right. There's a reason he created us the way we were, right?
Mhm.
And there's lessons to be learned from growing up from barbarianism into perfection, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And those lessons not only have to be learned by the great grandchildren of the future, but those same lessons have to be learned by those in the outer space levels that will be traveling through the perfected worlds, right? So they'll have to learn by traveling through the perfected worlds about more of a perfected life, right? Because those out there, they won't probably be as perfect as those in the perfected worlds. Do you follow me?
Yes. So what I hear you saying, Roger, is that when we come to light and life, then the people of that present age, um, they will go straight into service, into the
That's right.
spiritual service.
Spiritual service. That's exactly right, Jim. You got it. You got the big idea, right? You got God's big idea. That's God's big idea, right?
Mhm.
Right into service. From the outer space, right into service into the 7 super universes, and then they'll go the same pathway we do, right? Now think about this, and people always think I'm crazy when I say something like this, but think about this. We are blessed beyond imagination, coming up in a world that's so barbaric as ours is. Okay, let me tell you why. We learn lessons that future generations would give anything to learn those same lessons as a human experience so they can grow like we do. Okay, so that's why we're blessed. All the terrible things you see going around in the world, you have to think of them as lessons. We're really blessed to live in a world with such barbarianism, with a government that's corrupt, with all these things that we hate about this world is a blessing. Okay, we just have to learn how to recognize the blessing of it all, right?
Mhm.
That is the tough part for us, but it's the blessing for the future for all ages of people coming behind us, right? They will, even the angels are jealous of us living these mortal lives because we get the opportunity to go through the experience of non-perfection to perfection. And that's why the guardian angels all want to be assigned to us so they can experience it with us. Okay.
I agree with that statement.
You know, and that's the way it works. And it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. You know, it would have been just as easy for God to create everything perfect. But boy, what a uninteresting trip we would have had if we hadn't have grown up through non-perfection to get to perfection. Our world is a lot more interesting for us. It's really for the
Roger,
benefit of us, not God, right? Yeah.
I thought the guardian angels volunteered to be with mortals to be humored.
And they are.
And they are. They are that, Rodney. You'd have to have a good sense of humor to put up with all of us. Okay, so let's from here on out, let's try to look more at the blessings and less at the problems that we have, right? Because
Yes.
the world is good, really. It really is. It's set up for us to learn things, and we need to go through life being thankful for what we have, right?
Well,
Amen.
I think it says somewhere else in the book that we should look at this situation as little spots of darkness in a sea of light rather
Mhm.
than little spots of light in a sea of darkness.
The other way around. That's right. Right. All right. Okay. Also in this paragraph, before we move off of it, I do want to mention that as the Morantia companions, or as the finalitors take over more and more of the realms of the mansion worlds, they won't function as mansion worlds anymore. They'll be training spheres for the finalitors for the outer space levels, right? So we want to know that too. Okay.
So eventually they'll, instead of coming through one way, it'll be coming through the other.
Yeah, it will be. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
From
who-
ascenders to descenders.
That's right.
Mhm.
Who's up now? I think Bill, you're up next.
Okay. You can forecast that these beings are probably going to contribute much to your enjoyment of the mansion worlds, whether your sojourn is to be long or short. And you will continue to enjoy them all the way up to Salvington. They are not technically essential to any part of your survival experience. You could reach Salvington without them, but you would greatly miss them. They are the personality luxury of your ascending career in the local universe.
That spells it out right there. They're the luxury for us as we're sending up to the local universe to have these Morantia companions.
I mean, it's like friends.
Yeah, like friends.
Mhm.
Dear, would you
We're
take
thankful for them.
That's right. We have to be
Very
thankful for them.
thankful.
Who are the reversion directors? Joyful mirth and the smile equivalent are as universal as music. There is a Morantia and a spiritual equivalent of mirth and laughter. The ascendant life is about equally divided between work and play, freedom from assignment.
Half of your life when you get to the mansion worlds is going to be assignment, and the other half is going to be freedom to play. At least that's nice, right? So we're not going to work all the time, right? We're not going to sit around and play harps all days and praise God all days, but we do have time to do those sort of things if we choose to. Okay. Maybe I'll learn to play a harp. Yeah, you never know. All right, Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. Celestial relaxation and superhuman humor are quite different from their human analogs, but we all actually indulge in a form of both, and they really accomplish for us in our state just about what ideal humor is able to do for you on Urantia. The Morantia companions are skillful play sponsors, and they are most aptly supported by the reversion directors.
Now, do y'all realize how much enjoyment you get out of a good a good movie that's funny or something along that line, right?
Mhm.
It kind of eases your mind and takes away the day's tensions and relaxes you and that sort of thing. Well, it's the same thing when we get to the mansion worlds. There's the reversion directors help us relax, help us to laugh, help us to have a good time, right? And the Morantia companions we just talked about are helped and supported by these reversion directors that sets up reversions for us so that we can have this enjoyment. Isn't that nice? All right.
Mm.
It really is good. All right. Rodney, would you take the next one?
Yes. You probably best understand the work of the reversion directors if they were likened to the higher types of humorists on Urantia. though that would be an exceedingly crude and somewhat unfortunate way in which to try to convey an idea of the function of these directors of change and relaxation, these ministers of the exalted humor of the Morantia and spirit realms.
They're not talking about the dirty humor we see on TV or cable or all this stuff, right? We're talking about people that actually know how to entertain with and make things funny without bringing all the grossness into it, right? So they consider us a little bit on the crude and unfortunate way. So that's what they're talking about here, and it is unfortunate. All right, they're going to tell us what humor is next. All right, Jane, would you take the first paragraph on that?
Yes, in discussing spirit humor, first let me tell you what it is not. Spirit jest is never tinged with the accentuation of the misfortunes of the weak and daring. Neither is it ever blasphemous of the righteousness and glory of divinity. Our humor embraces three general levels of appreciation.
I tell you what, that gets rid of all of our humor, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No, no, there is some clean humor.
Very.
Nothing
There
else
are
to laugh at.
There's a
You
few
ever
out
go
there.
to a comedy club and they always make jokes about the weak and the erring?
Yeah, they
Oh,
do.
yeah, it
their
is so true.
wives,
That is true.
yeah, their
I would
wives or
like not-
husbands. Yeah,
Yes, it's so true.
yeah, and think of it this way. Think about somebody like Red Skelton. I always bring up Red Skelton. Now that man was funny.
He
could
was
tell
clean.
he was clean. He could tell a joke,
Yeah.
without injuring anybody. And that's the kind of humor they're talking about, right? All right.
Because he always had a very innocent,
Mhm.
he was like a child. He had very innocent ways about him.
He did. He did.
Yeah.
I can still watch a old Red Skelton tape of some of his shows and stuff, and I still laugh like a kid. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just funny. All right, Bill, would you take the first one there, reminiscent jest?
Am I next? I thought I just
Yeah.
read the previous one.
No,
Okay, I'll read it.
Jane just read.
Okay. Reminiscent jest. Quips growing out of the memories of past episodes and one's experience of combat, struggle, and sometimes fearfulness, and oft-times foolish and childish anxiety. To us, this phase of humor derives from the deep-seated and abiding ability to draw upon the past for memory material with which pleasantly to flavor and otherwise lighten the heavy loads of the present.
So if they have heavy loads of the present, that means our spiritual work seems to get to be like heavy loads sometimes, right? I mean, it just makes sense. All right. So this is the way for them to bring out stuff that's happened to us in the past that once we get to the dimension worlds is going to seem downright foolish, right? Especially the things to do with fear, fearfulness, and anxieties and things like that, right? All right, let's go on to the next one. Diane, take the next one.
2, current humor. The senselessness of much that so often causes us serious concern. The joy at discovering the unimportance of much of our serious personal anxiety. We are most appreciative of this phase of humor when we are best able to discount the anxieties of the present in favor of the certainties of the future. Okay, all right. Say what? Okay. We are most appreciative of this phase of humor when we are best able to discount the anxieties of the present in favor of the certainties of the future. Okay.
All right, so this is what they call the current humor, right? And what they're trying to bring out to us is they're talking about here, the discovering the unimportance of our serious personal anxiety. What does that tell us? It's the me syndrome all over again, isn't it? Right? When you get too concerned with what's going on with just your own life and too concerned with yourself, right? It becomes humorous to you, really. And that's what we do in this life. Everything, we are so important. Everything we do is so important. Anything anybody else does is not important to us, right? And that's a current humor issue. So what they do is help us learn how to make joke out of this, right? And it does become humorous because our future is what? Our future is nothing but blessed, right? That's all there is to it. So we bring out the joy of our future. All right, Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. Prophetic joy. Whoa. Prophetic joy. It will perhaps be difficult for mortals to envision this phase of humor, but we do get a particular satisfaction out of the assurance, quote, that all things work together for good, unquote, for spirits and Morantians as well as for mortals. This aspect of celestial humor grows out of our faith in the loving overcare of our superiors and in the divine stability of our supreme directors.
So this is the joy that comes from within, right? That everything's going to work out, and it's joy in the faith of what's going to happen and that everything's going to work out just fine, right? And that's what we need more of in this world too, right?
Roger,
Yes.
probably the best place to view humor there is in the resurrection halls,
Really?
because when we get our new bodies, we're not gonna know how things work.
Yeah.
And there's probably a viewing area.
Yeah.
Check this guy out.
Yeah. He must have been fat in his earlier life. He's looking for his fat, you know.
I was gonna say, when we get our new bodies, if you remember the Star Trek episode where Data made a daughter,
Yes. Mhm.
our bodies, our new bodies are going to be at first probably like the daughter's body was,
Uh-huh.
until she decided what she was going to be.
That's right. Till she decided what she wanted to be, right?
Right. Mhm.
What were you going to say, Jane? You look like you were.
Yeah, I have a curious question actually, since they
Yeah.
are talking about the challenges we will still encounter,
Uh-huh.
and they would be, barnacles that we're carrying with us from this.
That's an interesting term. Yeah.
That's how I see that.
I
But
like
the-
that. I like that. I like the way you put that.
My question is, could we still kind of be obsessed with the problems, or we think we left problems behind, be they our children, be they our friends, our relatives, or whoever
Course,
we have
Jane.
an interest in?
Yeah, Jane, we take up right where we left off here. So if that was their pattern in life, that's going to be their pattern when they first get to the first mansion world, right? And they'll have to be retrained by the angels, the seraphim, the Morantia cherubim. That's part of their function, to get us over this mindset from when we were human, right?
I get that, and I get it in the sense that previously we read something, and I'm not going to quote it because I can't, but that even as you were saying that everything is a blessing,
Yes.
that everything works together for good.
Mhm.
And then we realize that whatever problems our dear ones have, in faith and trust in God, it is good for them.
That's
And,
right.
and we will feel I'm not going to say we feel good about it, but we feel assured that we can leave them and allow them to experience even the most difficult.
Yes. Yeah.
Like we have to, like you said, it is a blessing to live even in difficult times,
Yes.
because how else can we get the experience?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I really think that if we sit down and thought about all these things we consider curses in our life, if you change your thought about it, you can really see how the blessings come from it, right? But you have to sit down and think about it, right? And the other thing for human beings is to get away from the me syndrome. Everything's about me all the time. That's the way we think all the time. What am I going to do about this? What am I going to feel about this? How is people going to think about me about this? Will my neighbors like me? Will my wife like me? Will my husband like me? Will my next door neighbor like my mailbox? All these things that are unimportant, because the only one we have to make happy is ourselves. Really, you think about it. And that's not being self-centered, that's being logical, if you think about it, right?
And make ourselves and God happy.
Make ourselves and make God happy. That's the whole thing. I think we're going to have to stop there, and we'll take it up on the reversion directors are not a created group next time. So let's have a little prayer and we'll take it up from there next time. Boy, it's been a tough week, hasn't it? Millie, would you like to close us in prayer tonight?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for letting us once again gather like this to discuss this many revelations that you've given us. Thank you for putting us somewhat at rest about what happens when we leave this planet, and all these wonderful beings that we're going to encounter that are going to be kind and gentle with us and will teach us and lead us, that we don't have to struggle all on our own like we do here on this planet. When we get there, we have someone to help us all the time, 24/7, if you have 24/7s. We are grateful. We're grateful for the information. We're grateful for this book. We're grateful for our leader. We thank you for this time together. In the name of Jesus of Nazareth, amen.
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 And thank you for joining us at
you.
home. Please come see us again in our things. Let me stop the recording.